Warning, this episode is for nerds.
Incoming transmission.
So something came up of Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
The part towards the end of the series when what's this guy's name? Dukat, when he turns himself into Bjouan.
A Bjouan. I love it.
And he turns himself into Bjouan. And I'm looking, I'm like, why does he look like familiar almost?
Dukat.
When he transforms into a Bjouan.
Yes.
He looks like the guy from Seinfeld, Kramer. When I saw him, I was like, he looks like Kramer. That's what he looks like to me.
No. Look away, I'm hideous.
Please do not address this unit in that manner.
He does look. He's related to Kramer.
Like, yo, he kind of looks familiar, but why?
That's not even an exaggeration, nigga. I guess that's a good segue right into it.
Right into it.
Right into it.
Inconsistent.
We haven't covered one of these in a hot minute, the Star Trek lore. So, spoiler alert, nerd alert, just like Trekcast used to say.
Rest in peace to Trekcast.
Rest in peace to the Trekcast. So
they're still around, just not the same.
It's not the same. They fell off. They fell off when they let that guy record from the minivan, which is why we don't let Mike record.
We cannot record from a minivan unless you're eating Arby's. Then we allow it.
That was disgusting.
That was the most disgusting. I was. He said something, and I was like, he said something different before. And I went back to one of the old episodes, started listening to it, and it's the one where he's eating Arby's, and I'm like, why do we let him do this?
Why? You know what's crazy is that thank God nobody watches this show, because that would be embarrassing.
We could have just took him off the video, have him talk audio, and we could have just been us.
Just a voice in the ether that we were listening to.
Yeah, Jesus. All right, so we just watched Section 31. We watched it like a few days ago, actually last week.
We watched it last week.
And I kind of reflected back on it, just thinking about it.
Okay, you've been meditating.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said something after it was done. And I was thinking about that. And it was what I said basically was this: we gotta accept
what we got.
That there is a Starfleet way of doing things, and then there's a Star Trek world, a bigger. That people just do things differently, and it's a different world out there. And Star Wars do that. Star Wars does. They have their Jedi. Oh, they have their Jedi storyline where it's just the main. Then they have the freaking what are these guys called? The bounty hunters, like the Mandalorian. That's just us adjacent. It's not really the main Jedi, but it's adjacent. They follow a side guy.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
It's like doing a Star Trek show based on...
Is the Mandalorian considered the same kind of thing? To just throw an example? Because that's literally the only Star Wars.
No, but there's a whole bunch of Star Wars. They just... That was me. I gotta turn this off.
I thought that was my job. I was like, I know I changed that ringtone.
They just released something called Andor, which I've been wanting to watch. I just haven't had a chance to watch it.
Okay, I saw the cover of that in the thing.
What's the guy's name from church? He's the one that recommended it to me. The one that dressed up like a Jedi.
That had the whole vest, that he was a runner-up.
Yeah.
But Erica won.
What's his name?
Erica killed it.
Erica. I was like, yo, Erica looks nice.
Erica looks mad nice. Jeremy, what up, Jeremy?
I was like, yo.
It's the costume. And she really fitted well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was telling me about Andor. He was like, yo, it's a good show. Trust me, watch it. Because I told him, I was like, I kind of not that really into Star Wars. There's no rules. And I think that's what I like about Star Trek. There's like rules. Not the Prime Directive. Rules of this show. Like, that we don't talk about.
It's a mystery.
and I don't like mysteries.
Star Wars doesn't have those rules. Like, I'll give you an example. When they have what's the name of the thing that makes you go warp? The nacelle, the warp drive.
The core.
They have the core. It has to attach to the nacelle. There's rules. If you're gonna make a ship, a Federation ship, it has to have this. Whether you're Kirk or freaking a Voyager. 400 years later, there are rules that we have to follow, right? Unless you're like a different race. I think the Cardassians use the black hole, the mini black hole, to power their ship.
Really? I don't remember that.
Oh, see, it's not as deep as I am.
We're leveling up to the nerdness right now.
I think it's I don't know if it's the Cardassians. It might be a different race that do it, but they use the Hornet. Oh no, actually, it's the
Romulans.
The Romulans.
Ooh, leveled up.
He's there. He's there. They're the ones that use it. They have like a mini black hole that they power their ship with, right?
Yeah.
But there's rules. They follow these. It's not freaking the show rules. It's the writers making these rules that confine themselves. So we have, how does whatever technology when they make replicators, there's a they can't replicate dilithium, right?
Right. There's certain things. There's
rules.
Yes.
Star Wars doesn't have these rules. They're just whatever they want to do, they can do. If they want to travel from Earth to freaking Andromeda, okay, we'll be there in 5 seconds. Let's go.
So there's a it's like they put, when I've asked this, when growing up as a kid, me and my brothers would create our own superhero characters, but because I was the oldest, I'm the leader of everything. I was a little Stalin, little dictator. I was like, you could create a superhero. We used to draw up our superhero, what they look like, with a horrible drawing. Imagine what it looked like. And I would say, listen, you could draw him, but the superhero has to have like a negative effect or a weakness, something. Yeah, we've discussed this.
Like Superman has a weakness.
Exactly. So, Star Trek has that, where it's like, okay, we have this thing where it's a ship, but there's laws of gravity or laws of physics that we kind of follow, but we could break whenever we want. But we
that's like
follow
even that's rare. Even that's like they explain it. There's no reason why we do that.
Exactly. So
there's an anomaly, and that's why that happens.
Whereas Star Wars is just
whatever you want to do.
You could die today and be back tomorrow. We don't even have to tell you what happened or how.
Like that, they had the big ship that shot the laser and destroyed the planet. How does it even work? Do they even explain it?
What isn't that the Death Star?
The Death Star. What's the rules behind that thing? Right?
Why does it look like that?
And in fact, those rules that we talked about is the reason why we even had Voyager. It's because there's a rule they have to follow. You can't travel from point A to point B instantaneously.
Right.
Even with the warp drive at full capacity.
Yeah.
It's still going to take you 70 years to get there.
It gets hot. It has to cool down.
It has to cool down. We take breaks. You also got to recharge, regas, get more dilithium.
And then you want to be nosy and explore every corner of every little thing that pops up.
Well, if they didn't explore, they wouldn't have been home. That was part of their, they discovered.
That's very true. If they didn't explore.
Every once in a while, they'll get like a little push by somebody or some alien technology. Like, oh, we can catapult you. Whatever, But Star Trek has those rules, and it's attractive because it's not. You can't just write that away. You can't just, like in Star Wars, we can write like the writers could just write. Oh well, he had a special technology that did that, and that's it. It's over. Star Trek has to be like, no, there's rules we have to work by, and we have to do our writing based on these rules.
Yeah.
So maybe we can explain it away, but it has to make sense for the fan that knows the rules.
Yeah,
the rules that we don't talk about.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
So with I was watching. I downloaded that app that because I was looking for one of the series, and I gotta show you this thing because it's going to be so much content that I'm kind of excited. A lot of it doesn't make sense. I'll explain later.
All right.
But going through it, I ran into like a fan base little mini short film of some nerd that recorded his experience with Star Trek. And to just give you a quick synopsis,
like a YouTube video sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's on this app.
But it's on this app as a
so
movie.
Fun.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff like that. Actually, I was driving, like scrolling and like adding it to my watch later.
Oh, that's fun.
So I'll show you that in a second. So the guy breaks down the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. And a quick little thing, he grew up. His dad was a Star Trek fan, so much so that he got married, I think, in the Star Trek Experience or Las Vegas, and he showed the picture of his wife, and his wife was like miserable.
Nerd. That's why when I got married, I added the cufflinks Star Trek.
Oh yeah, no, I was like, oh, this guy's so sexy.
I was like, I don't want to go too hard,
but you know, I gotta dab it. Yeah, that's perfect.
And then for my boys, I put them. I got them Batman watches. They're wearing Batman watches because they like Batman. At the time, they don't care about that.
Not now. So he goes on to explain how he grew up Star Trek. He was sort of forced to watch it, but he was in love with Star Wars. It was Star Wars, everything, blah 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 blah. It wasn't until he got older that he got an appreciation for the Star Trek, and he explains it like this: Star Wars is a show about basically good and evil fighting. Good and evil, and it's a drama based on the good and the bad, the dark force and the whatever the other one is. Whereas Star Trek is more about ethics, morals, storytelling.
It's funny when you said that, I was like, Star Trek has that, but not really.
Not really.
Fascinating.
Because it's like what's good for you is bad for me.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
It
So we gotta
shows like
negotiate.
stories
Yeah.
that negotiate and gives you moral dilemmas, ethical dilemmas.
And that's why the episode with Cisco, the deleted episode, where he recorded himself talking about something.
Such a good episode.
That's why it was such a what? Because
No,
he
that's
breaks
a good
all the
episode.
rules.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's such a good episode. But yeah, the way when he described it that way, I was like, that's basically it. Each episode has a story and a dilemma, whether it's moral or whatever it is, but there's a plot behind each story where you could technically watch the story all by that particular episode all by itself, because you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But at the same time, you also have this continuation of these characters that fall into a whole storyline that lasts 7 seasons, 7 years long, which made it, even more interesting because you wanted to follow. It's particularly with all of them, really, but I'm biased towards Voyager and even Deep Space Nine because it was like stationary, so it was heavily reliant on these characters and their progress, like the way they.
I was gonna say
evolved.
Deep Space Nine has a storyline that follows almost continuously with the Dominion, all the way to the end, because it starts off with their gods from the wormhole. I forgot what the hell they're called. The prophets.
So like the continuing story
It even ends
there
with
was
the
that.
prophets. Yeah.
The continuing story was this space station that happened to be next to a wormhole, and this conflict between these races that wanted to dominate this native species, right? So there's this overshadowing storyline that continued, that sort of tied all the episodes together. For the original series and Next Generation, it was this exploration and would go boldly when no man has gone. 5-year mission to explore the craps.
Well, technically, that's
The arching,
an origin, but within it, there's different things.
right? There's independent. It's just like in each series, but with DS9, it was a different. It had a different arching story than what we were used to with Star Trek Enterprise, like the original and Next Generation. And then again with Voyager, it was the overlying story was this ship that got lost that wanted to get home.
Space.
So where again, I don't know how people can stay falling in love with Star Wars, because to me it's just like good and evil.
Good and evil, yeah, it's basic.
The Force and the.
So I think that's what my issue was with Section 31. I was like, it's basic. I know what's gonna happen next immediately. As soon as they start introducing characters, I'm like, that's the bad guy. I could tell right away. They're gonna do this. It felt like Star Wars. It was like, this is too simple.
Yeah.
Star Trek is not simple like that. We do have our bad guys and good guys, but whoa, what happened? All of a sudden now the Romulans joined the Romulans were never part of our team, and all of a sudden now they joined us, because of a lie, whatever. But even further behind, I mean, further back in the past, the Federation was fighting the Klingons, and now we're together and we're working together. And even within that, now we're working together, there was still contention. Like, the Klingon have their own government.
Yeah.
And they're fighting for who's going to be the leader. Depending on who's going to run the Klingon Empire, we don't know if they're going to join us or not.
It could change.
It could change in an instant.
With the new leadership.
Yeah. So, this dynamic, it's not just I'm the good guy and I'm the bad guy.
Right.
There's so much more involved.
Yeah. And it's dominant on those, what is it, 3 species? I would say. Yeah. The 3 species that dominate the storyline pretty much throughout the history of Star Trek are the Romulans.
Well, I would say the Klingons, the Vulcans, and the humans.
Oh, no, because the Vulcans I consider us.
Oh, they're part of. Oh, because it's part of the Federation.
Yeah, they were the OGs.
But then you could say that.
That's why I would say Klingons. Even Klingons are part of us, but not really. It was later on. Whereas we started with this. With the Vulcans being the first alien race to come visit us. Another thing that this guy mentioned in his little mini movie was like that. This idea of what the future is for us. Is like, where Star Wars is like good and evil, which is sort of what we deal with in day-to-day life now with amongst, different countries, the good, bad, depending on which side you're in, right? Yeah. There's a good guy and the bad guy. But in the future of Star Trek, there's still good and evil. There's still wars. There's still famine. But it's not at home, right? It's not here. Like we've evolved, and now we're part of this other community. So we got our crap together, so to speak, which is another good analogy about it. Because if you sit down and say it's about humanity, how we became peaceful, it's like nah. We still got struggles out there. We're just united as a race.
What changed humanity in Star Trek? After watching the Orville, I really see what really changed Star Trek for humanity was they got rid of scarcity when they invented the replicators. Scarcity was over. Now we can make whatever we want. We can eat whatever we want. It's over. We don't need money. We don't need this labor. There's so much stuff we don't need now.
We just need this one energy source.
That's it. I can design a product and basically like 3D print it, but and replicate it. And now we don't need to have a factory. You know what I'm saying? In fact, now they have industrial replicators that we can print other replicators.
And
you know what I'm saying?
It just keeps going.
That's it. We only need like a handful of engineers on the whole planet
to keep it going.
Yeah, to like invent better ones that whatever. So what that changes the dynamic of humanity completely, and turns them into a totally different society. So we don't have to worry about starving to death like they do on other planets. So that's why when we show up at replicators, I'm like, what? That's insane. Like that can change everything. You know? Even in Voyager, when you see it in Voyager, when Voyager goes to different planets, Voyager's quote unquote advanced compared to so many different societies out
off
there.
Off the gate.
They're like, wow, your technology is insane.
Yeah, the Kazon is like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So everybody's like, wow, your technology is fantastic. And even the Voyager technology kind of a neck and neck with, as far as I see, one of the most advanced societies there is the Borg. We're like neck and neck with them with technology. There's even a point where they come to us for help. They're like, look, guys.
How was that? Like
we're dying. Yeah, we'll give you a girl. You can keep her.
We'll give you a
if you help us. We'll get rid of the girl that always sounds like she's whispering. That's mad annoying to talk to. And we'll give you somebody, that's something to look at.
Thank God they got rid of her, though. My gosh, what a great move.
Fantastic move. Voyager pre-episode 3 and after episode 3 is totally different
season.
Show.
You mean?
Yeah, season. Sorry, I said episode. Yeah. They're like different show.
It really is.
And it's like, if you had an episode with Kes, I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
When I watch Voyager, I'm like, I hope it's a freaking 7 of 9 episode.
You know what?
Those are my favorite ones.
The last episode.
Between her and the Doctor, my 2 favorite characters on that whole.
The episode. Which one is that? Which episode?
No, I'm just saying.
All of them.
Anything with her or the Doctor.
The 7 of 9
character,
and the Doctor?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. The progression, the
good.
love quarrel that he had for her. Her learning to
just any episode that features them. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my favorite ones is with the Doctor is that his copy got left on a planet, and he was like in a museum, and they did like a fake of what they interpreted.
I forgot the name of that episode, but that's such.
And the
a
Voyager
good
is like evil. And he's like, that's not how it went down at all. And then finally they find like what is that thing called? The device in their hand that they carry?
The tricorder.
They find a tricorder and they were able to prove that the doctor wasn't lying. And then he's like, I'm going to Earth. Imagine when he gets there. Like, there's 2 of them now. It's just like another... Because when Voyager got to Earth, imagine all the new technology and stuff that they brought with them. Yeah. New civilization that they brought. They must have brought so much. And then all of a sudden, 400 years later, the doctor shows up even more. They're like, wow, Voyager's still giving us.
Voyager's still
giving us stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's really an ending towards that whole entire. I mean, and that's the other thing about the series is that. And I don't know if this is true for most series, but like when I think of like Breaking Bad, what happened at the end? Like what happened to those characters? You would imagine that homeboy, went to Alaska, wherever the hell he just lived off his life and he died. You know what I mean? Right? Like Jesse, yeah. When you think about Voyager, you think about, okay, this person got a promotion. What did this person do? Did this person continue in Starfleet? He was supposed to be arrested. Were they charged? Were they forgiven for their charge of
does
being
Harry Kim get a rank up?
Does he get promoted? I'm pretty sure he goes right to captain.
He was known as Ensign Kim the whole freaking series.
The whole series, and they abused the crap out of the character the first 3 seasons. The last episode I watched, just to switch gears and mention, another cool thing about the series, and I think this had to do with the fact that a lot of the stuff that we used to watch were on TV, right? We had the DVR, the cassettes, tapes to record it. You had to show up on time.
I try to explain this to my kids. They have no idea what I was saying.
They're like, what?
I was like, yo, if you miss, you may never see it again.
It's true.
You may cross your fingers and hope, please, have to be a rerun in a year or 2 somewhere and I could find it.
Yeah.
My TV guide, I got to find to make sure.
They would never know.
Yeah, they would never know.
But the other flip side of that, the episode was a Cass episode where she got really sick, and
she was like, I'm gonna have a baby. Like she was like,
not that one.
Not that one.
God, that one is just horrible.
Yeah.
And Neelix is so annoying with her. Anyways, he seems like a Puerto Rican, aggressive, a young Puerto Rican. So, no, but this episode was when you had Janeway go down to this planet, and she had to endure this ritual to get the cure, to save her, to save Cass. And in the episode was some of the characters, old school actresses from Seinfeld. You had George Costanza's mom, and she was in the waiting room with the other viejitos. She was like, oh, look at her, she thinks she's better. And then Janeway had to endure this whole entire ritual to get this antidote. And once she got the antidote, the doctor was like, oh, I should have figured this out myself. It was just blah, 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 blah. And Janeway's like, bitch, you had no idea what I had to go through. It wasn't even the whole premise was them telling how, we rely so much on technology. Sometimes it's a leap of faith. And that was the whole moral of the whole freaking episode. And I'm watching this early this morning, like, the fact that he had these actors and actresses come in. You had George Costanza himself from Sci-Fi come into the show. You had The Rock show up.
I think that was The Rock's first acting
thing. Wow, that's crazy. You might be right, actually. I mean, but the wrestling was acting, right?
Yeah,
it's horrible acting.
Different show.
But that's another thing that I miss about it.
It's a lot of actors that were Trek fans, and they were like, "Yo, just put me anywhere on the show." That's why Whoopi Goldberg got on. She was a Trek fan. She was like, I just want to be on the show.
But not only do they, but so then I started thinking about these individuals, and I'm like, it's one thing to get you get 99.9% of us do a job because we got bills and we're just trying to survive. But there's very few people that could say, yo, I do what I love doing. Like I go in and I'm pretending to be this character. You know what I mean? That I get to watch
for the rest of my life.
For the rest of my life. Well, I mean,
I mean, at this point at their age, only nerds go on like, oh, how did you feel about this episode? It's like, oh god, how many times I answered this damn question? Every time I go to those conventions, they come up like, what were you thinking in this moment?
I know,
like, bro, he's acting. He don't care.
I know. Come up with a different question. What was the worst part about it? You know what I mean? Who did you really didn't like?
Who did you fuck on the show?
Who did you have sex with?
Tell us.
We know Kes was getting it in there.
Apparently, she was like an addict.
She was a crazy, person.
Yeah.
I mean, so was your boy Cisco, right? Another
Well, he's a different kind of crazy. She was a drug addict crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was like arrested. I don't know if you ever seen the photos of her.
Yeah, crazy.
She's a crazy. Yeah, he's like a liberal kind of crazy. You know, like a liberal guy.
Like we the people.
Yeah,
Too
not
much.
even just a weird kind of. I don't know. But so to me, 7 of 9 changed Voyager for the way better. Voyager was like,
they must have had a meeting in season 3 and been like,
but let me say that even though she changed the show, and there was a lot of Borg episodes, probably my favorite episodes, the Borg ones. But in saying that, they didn't make the Borg keep up. Like, I hear always complaints, oh, they made the Borg look weak. And I'm like, that's not what they did. They fought the Borg. I think the problem I had with it was that they didn't make the Borg come back with even stronger. Because the Borg are supposed to advance, always.
right,
So maybe not even for Voyager, from other planets that they figured.
assimilate to
Yeah.
perfection.
So they should have came back with a totally different technology. And then Voyager will have to figure out how to counter that. And that's the only thing. They came back the same Borg throughout the whole season.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, what they came out, let's know.
We didn't know how they were traveling. We thought that they had this another method of propulsion, split stream. We thought they do have that, but that wasn't their main method of. We learned that they had the conduit.
The what? The transwarp. This guy's gonna bring in trans stuff again.
No, they had the conduit, right? Remember that 7 of 9 in the last episode, like there's only 7 of these in the known universe, and the Borg have one of them that allows us to instantly pop up at your doorstep.
See,
with
that
different parts of
quote
it.
right there makes me feel like they can make a whole new series just off that. They could just run into another alien that has one, and the whole series could be about them.
So so thinking about what happens at the end of it, each series leaves you wondering what happened in the whole lore of where humanity progresses through the lens of that particular storyline of those particular characters. So I would imagine when Voyager got back, their first line was like, "Oh, we got to go conquer that hub, that trans."
I just
warp
blew
world.
it up, but we got to go somehow back and get it.
I just blew it.
up. Done. In fact, when I came through, pieces came following me
that
from
you
the
thought
things
was
I
the
blew up
enemy.
back there. Yeah.
But it still exists. We gotta go.
Because they're fixing it.
The Borg?
Well, damn, so much they could have did. Because think about it, when Enterprise, the show Enterprise, they made the best episode of Enterprise to me personally. The best episode was the one where they find the Borg in the snow. That's the best episode, right? Because it was based on something that happened outside of the show.
It connects.
Yeah. And I feel like with that thing with the transwarp blowing up, whatever, it could just leave chunks of Borg technology flying out of a different part of the transwarp to some unknown planet, and the Borg taking over that planet, but making their own society separate from the Borg.
Like 7 did with those 4 people. She created her own.
So the Borg is like, yeah, we don't know where we came from. We have no connection to anywhere else. We shot out through the transwarp. It blew up. There's no way for us to access it anymore. We landed on this planet. We did what Borg do in the beginning, assimilated the whole planet, and now we're just here. We don't know what to do. We're kind of like, some of us gain consciousness, whatever, and we're kind of figuring things out. And they can make a whole new sect of Borg, like Lore did.
They kind of did that though with those people that were in the Voyager episode where Chakotay gets sick and they use the Neuralink to heal him.
The Neuralink.
They use the Neuralink. We'll get into that. Elon Musk is coming up real quick in this conversation. I took notes. But I don't know if you remember that episode where and the lady that he fell in love with, she like took off her wig, she was bald, and then they all got together and they were like, we could hear you, and they healed him, but then they controlled him using the nanoprobes later on. We're like, help us, we need you to, go into that ship and reactivate the hub because our planet. So the storyline was that a bunch of a Borg ship crashed, it got destroyed, and a bunch of Borgs inhabited the planet, and they were disconnected from the hive mind, from the main hive mind. But because they were disconnected, they realized, that their neighbors were like enemies. They were species that we were at war with each other. So in the planet there was like mad different factions going on.
Because once they woke up, they were like, I'm a Klingon, you're this,
you're a Romulan, like we're enemies, like blah. So they started forming these different factions and going to war with each other, fighting. And when Voyager came, they saw this opportunity to be like, we could get them to help us reactivate the neural link from the ship, and then we could control the rest of the planet and bring order to chaos again. So they sort of did that with them,
and also with their own board. What's the 01?
Unimatrix 0001.
No, the thing where they kind of, when they go into to regenerate, and their dreams go into this world. Oh, and there was a whole bunch of Borgs that are like, this is where we come when we dream.
Yeah, I think that was Unimatrix 01.
01, something like that, yeah. But I was saying, like, they could have made a Borg sect.
Just with...
And they could be like, all right, then there could have been a whole episode of, or a whole season of Borg Civil War, where these two factions fight. And then you have Borg and Federation fighting the main Borg. You know what I'm saying?
Like, or this planet, they expand, and then they become their own, and they fight them. Yeah.
There's so much you could do with this. But you can't... I mean, with Star Wars... It's just good guys and bad guys. You're never going to be a Sith, a bad guy, joining the good guys to fight a third party.
There's never a cross?
No, they never do that. They hate each other. There's never a point. You may have a bad guy say, I'm a good guy now, and I go to the other side.
Or a good guy.
But they're never going to negotiate with each other. I'd be like, all right, how can we do to help each other out? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a bigger threat on the horizon. We need to join forces.
Yeah.
They never do that.
So, in other words, there's only two sides.
That's it. It's just good guys and bad guys. You got the, I guess they're called rebels. The rebels, and then you have the Empire. That's it. That's all you got.
That's it.
And then you have little planets that have their own little thing, but they're like nothing. They're under, them, They're not really their own thing independently. They're either helping these guys or those guys. That's it.
They're like little villages.
Yeah, basically.
In the way of the main arch.
And even then, sometimes the Empire would show up on the planet, and they're like, all right, give us some grain for our Empire. And they have to give up to help the freaking greater cause.
Nah.
It's not, I mean, you could do that within Star Trek. But even if you did that within Star Trek, it'll be such a small portion of Star Trek. It wouldn't be the main storyline.
Right, like
because there's so many other factions that'd be like, no, we can negotiate against, we can figure out how to take out this main power.
Like the Maquis.
Yeah, like the Maquis. That's a good one. Maquis separate from the Federation. They also got beef with the Romulans, so they're not really either. But the Federation's like, but they're humans, so we kind of gotta watch over
some
them.
of our people.
We kind of gotta watch them. Yeah, make sure they're all right. Again, so Voyager, they were hunting down the Maquis. Trying to, what the hell are you guys doing? They were in the neutral zone, right? Is that what's happening? The beginning, first episode of Voyager? I can't remember.
In the Voyager.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Voyager started because they were on a mission to capture these Maquis.
But where were they? They were in the neutral zone?
They were by Deep Space Nine.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
That's right, because that's where they picked up these guys from.
That was
where they were mad racist?
Kim, yeah.
Yeah? You gotta watch out for these Ferengis. Gotta watch out for these blacks.
And Harry
and
Paris came through, like, didn't they teach you about these guys?
Yeah.
Like, these guys are the...
They get mad at us.
These guys are the Chinese. Yeah, so that's how, again, it everything connects and weaves in together. It's like this never-ending story within a story within a story. But, again, going back to this guy's analogy of it's a story about, there are these guys and those guys, who's bad, who's not, whose side you're on, who do you prefer. But there's always this moral or ethical dilemma that comes into play, and each episode has a beginning and end, a beginning, a middle, and an end. But in its whole, it continues to this overarching good story.
Like Deep Space Nine was one overarch, but there's a bunch of little like even multi-episode, even season-long arcs.
Yeah, to be
within the big
continued,
bubble.
the two-parter series would
Even not even just whole seasons of things that go on.
Yeah.
You know? Like even stuff that I don't know. Star Trek is so good because they'll pick up things from different series. Like I said, with the Enterprise and the Borg, they do the same thing with the Doctor from Deep Space Nine. He's a what are they called?
The hologram.
No, the Doctor from Deep Space Nine.
Oh, he's an augment.
He's an augment. They pick up something from earlier.
God,
that augment storyline taps so many different things. Think about the Klingons, why they look different. Because of augments.
So in the Star Trek universe, augments refer to an enhancement of the human body, often through genetic or cybernetic means that exceeds normal human capabilities, while cybernetic augmentations like Geordi LaForge's visor were presented as a beneficial for addressing disabilities or enhancing abilities. Genetic augmentations like those of Khan and the Augments have a darker history, leading to the eugenics wars and a ban on genetic engineering in the Federation space. Cybernetic augmentation in Star Trek, Geordi LaForge's visor. Genetic augmentation in Star Trek, Khan, eugenics wars, and the ethical concerns behind it. Scientific relevance and future possibilities. That's where like Elon Musk and his neural link comes into mind. In a real world, some Star Trek technologies like the tractor beam have real world counterparts, much on a smaller scale. For example, laser-based tractor beams have been developed that can manipulate tiny particles. The potential for future science, while the Star Trek universe offers a glimpse into the potential of genetic and cybernetic augmentation, it also has important ethical and practical questions that scientists are still grappling with today.
It's funny because before you read that, one of the things I wanted to touch on is the fact that Star Wars starts off in a universe far, far away, whatever, like it's like a fairy tale. Star Trek is like, no, this is gonna happen. Hold your horses.
Yeah,
this is coming your way. This is us. This is about to go down.
That's what made it so exciting too, And I started with the Next Generation, the second franchise series. So I started with that one. So I really didn't like the whole original because it was based in the 60s. Like, who's watching that? That's like my son, our kids watching, what we were watching.
Even though I try to get him to watch it, like, what is this crap?
What is this? Why are you making you're torturing us?
You're an old man. Like. Old man episodes.
Irritating. Ah, yes. One of your Earth emotions.
So I really wasn't.
Even now, I watch some of the old 160s. I'm like, this is bad.
This is really
bad.
That
breaks canon. That happens often too. That's not part of canon.
But the reason why I went back into the original, the 60s series, was because it was what drew me into it was when I read about the story of how the FBI was calling the creator of Star Trek, like, yo, how did you know about these heart monitors and how did you know about blood pressure monitors and heart monitors? How did you know we were working on these things? Because it was featured on this show as this technology, in the future. It was all like, we didn't have that back then. A bio bed that you lay down and it scans your vitals, that didn't exist. So when I read about that, I was like, wait a minute. But we were working on that back when, and it was top secret. But in this series, it was a complete top secret thing. So I was like, hold up. So this writer really did have a vision of the future that's coming into fruition even now.
Yeah, but even in the vision of the future, it's just stuff that we would talk about. Like, in the future, they're going to have this. You know what I'm saying? In the future, we're going to be able to transport instantaneously. It's going to be quick. You're going to transport,
Yeah.
It's just stuff that we would even talk about. That's what it feels like. Oh, it's right there. It's like he's talking about stuff that we've been planning. Oh, snap. I didn't even realize we were. Get us out of here.
Get us out of here.
I'm over here like scrolling. Pictures. Wait, but let me say too, like, Star Trek has rules. Right?
You were the chosen one!
That the writers have to work around these rules, right? And Star Wars doesn't really have these rules. Star Wars is sci-fi, just like Star Trek is sci-fi, but they're different kinds of sci-fi.
You would think that Star Wars that doesn't have rules, they would have more.
Oh, there'd be so much more for them to do. But I think the rules forces the writers to be creative. So because they're forced to be creative, they got to think of different ways around things. So it makes the story more intricate.
Right. Like, I want to inject this story, but I have to follow.
Yeah, versus one could just be like, oh, they're just the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's the undercover bad guy. Like Section 31 did. He's pretending to be a good guy, but really he's a bad guy.
And their idea of creative is like, let's do a lightsaber that also shoots little lasers.
Yeah.
It's like,
And that's another thing too. Is like, okay, they got lightsabers. What is the lightsaber? They never explain it. They just say, oh, it's a little crystal. Why is it held there? Star Trek would have been like, this is why. First, it emits a force field that makes the thing, and it makes it ultra hot plasma inside. Like, they would have explained it. Star Wars never explains it.
It just is.
It's just, you put a crystal in it, and it makes this thing.
I didn't even know you put a crystal in it.
Yeah. And it holds it there somehow. Like, it doesn't shoot into freaking space.
Right. Why doesn't it continue?
Why does it stop? Why is it round on the tip? Like, they don't explain it.
Yeah.
If it was in the Star Trek universe, they would have totally explained
And how long does that crystal last?
I don't know. Again, if it was Star Trek, they would have been like, oh, it only lasts a month if you use it, constant use.
Yeah. You got
to get another one.
Like bullets.
And that forces them to fight each other because they need that crystal. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would, see how I already thought of, because there's a workaround, and now I have to make a storyline.
Yeah.
Again, Star Wars, like, he's a bad guy, just kill him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no real intricacy.
And it also gives me the vibe of wrestling.
Yeah.
Right?
Like actors, like, oh my God, he's a bad guy.
That's my favorite character.
Yeah.
And I'm going to live with him and dress up like just him. Well, I guess Star Trek had that too. But I don't know. We just had maybe, I don't know.
So then, like, if I think of, I put down what is, I think we kind of explained what Star Trek is, but what's your favorite non-Star Trek Star Trek? So, like, Star Wars wouldn't be Star Trek.
No.
They're not non-Star Trek Star Trek. Orville is.
Orville, but that's so similar. Like, can you think of anything else? That's
so what I'm thinking
Trek,
is oh, sure, I just had it in my head. Battlestar Galactica.
Oof.
That's a Star Trek type show because there's rules that they follow. They're limited on certain things. They explain how they got the bad guys, right? The humans built them. They kind of rebelled.
Fascinating.
Like, they're not like, they're just bad guys in space. They just bad guys.
And it's more than one sect, right? There's
and even within the bad guys, there's some of them that believe in one God, and some of them that they even believe in God. Like, they bring religion. Like, some of them, like, there's one true God. The other one's like, no, there's not. Each, there's multiple gods.
Both
or we're the gods, actually.
Right. Yeah, word.
So Battlestar Galactica to me is like, that's a version to Star Trek. It's a non-Star Trek Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? If they would have continued with the storyline, like if they would have just advanced the technology, it would have been Star Trek all over.
So I think of Black Mirror too, though.
Yeah, there's plenty of Black Mirror episodes that could be like Star Trek.
Right.
100%, yeah.
I think of Black Mirror, and maybe because of the style of writing that draws like similarities to it. Yeah, each episode has its own.
It's like a twist always.
Yeah, there's a twist.
Yeah.
There's a, and that's we covered this in an episode where I think that's why a lot of people complained about Black Mirror, where it's like there's not enough twist anymore.
Yeah, it was too straightforward. Yeah,
there's not enough twisting going on. Where with Star Trek, we always got a twist. It was always like, oh snap, you know what I mean? Like the episode where Voyager got stuck got stuck in that orbit, and they.
Oh yeah, that's a good
they
time,
were
yeah.
in a different time than the people that
Of the
were in that planet, and they saw a whole civilization.
And to the people of the
go
planet, they're like,
from-
oh, this star appeared in the sky and it's been there.
So they exactly. They, from the perspective of Voyager, they watched the whole civilization go from freaking cavemen to helping them get out.
Yeah,
And like
to like landing on their ship, and they're like, oh snap! And then they're like, look, we're about to send you back, but since you've been on this ship, 100 years has passed. Good luck.
good luck. Everyone you know is dead. You know what I mean?
And you're Asian? Wow, progressive.
Bad progressive.
Right? Because he wasn't a white guy. He was an Asian guy, remember? They could have sent anybody. They sent an Asian guy. Nice.
It's funny that you mentioned that because Elon Musk had suggested Elon Musk, whose SpaceX company recently faced setbacks and is known for his space traveling ambitions, suggested he'd make Starfleet real on social media. And
he's bringing the future. He's pulling. He's like, you see that future you guys dream of? I'm gonna bring it to you right now.
Only to be criticized by one of the actors.
Oh, give me the gay one.
Exactly.
Is it the Asian gay guy?
No.
Oh, which one?
Only.
Wait, is he even alive? Sulu?
No. He's still alive. Yeah.
Oh, he's still, wow, good for him.
I know, right? Is he? God, I feel like the last time I checked was a few years ago. While you looked that up, only to be criticized after Elon Musk posted this comment of bringing Starfleet. One of the actors it's an actor of Star Trek, so I love how they phrase this headline: Elon Musk humiliated by Star Trek over its desire to make Starfleet Academy real. First of all, this person is an actor. He's not a franchise owner, so he's not speaking for the lore of Star Trek.
Yeah.
He's just an actor. And the actor is saying, it's hypocritical of Elon Musk to suggest that he'd bring Starfleet Academy to his space ambitions because Elon Musk doesn't believe in DEI. It's like, oh my God.
I don't think people understand what that means. I mean, that's a whole nother episode in itself. But
it is, but still, if you know what Star Trek is, first of all, the fact that anyone is trying to bring Starfleet Academy into our space venture is like that's a huge comeback.
He's still alive, by the way.
He's still kicking.
4 pages locked and ready to fire.
Still kicking it.
My guy is still doing it. He's right behind me.
He was born in 1937, and he's still kicking it.
Wow.
What does that make him? 80 something?
Well, minus we're in 25, so
yeah, so whatever that means. Oh, 88. No math for us.
No math for us.
Answer right away. Thank you.
88 years old.
Look at this young man, young Asian fella.
That's wild. You think he was gay in that photo?
I think he was always gay.
All right, another episode. So when it comes to Star Trek, and I guess this episode is about, what's the difference between a Star Trek and a Star Wars fan. For someone who doesn't watch any of this shit, there is literally no difference. All you heard in this whole episode was blah, 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 blah. And it'd be shocking if you're still listening. But if you are a Star Trek fan or a Star Wars fan, there's one thing that we couldn't argue. Which one is more popular? Star Wars.
Because it's basic. Not much thinking involved. It's just good guys and bad guys. I choose the good guys. I choose the bad guys.
Yeah.
There's no intricacy. Like in Star Trek, we can just be like, are you a good guy or a bad guy? Because it depends what time of history we're talking about. Are the Klingons good guys or bad guys?
The Klingons are.
Yeah. They used to be the bad guys.
They used to be really
now
bad.
They're the good guys.
What was the place where they sent them for punishment?
Stovacor, when they died?
No, that's where they died. Yeah. But remember where they sent Captain Kirk and they sent Picard? Shoot, they sent quite a few people over there.
I don't know.
They sent Jonathan Frakes. They sent Captain Archer.
You're talking about the Klingons?
Yeah. Where you're gonna go to
the prison.
Something. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it. Something Nor?
No, you think about Torok Nor?
Torok Nor?
That's the Deep Space Nine. That's the name of the space station. Torok Nor.
Something Nor. So anyways, yeah, so right, so the Klingons were bad, but then they became our allies, you know what I mean? And they're forever. You know what's crazy about that is so nerdy that actually became a real language.
Yeah. I love it. Not only that, Vulcan too. They made Vulcan into a language.
Really?
Yeah, somebody did it.
Oh my gosh.
And you know how they do it? Retroactively, whatever. Like they'll look back how they use the language, and whatever that actor fake make-believe sound he made, they'll break it down. They'll be like, all right, this is what those words mean. Now let's expand it and they make a freaking language retroactively.
Like going back and grabbing the little bits of words and then expanding it from there.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, he said these sounds and this is what he meant, so that means this sound must mean this.
The prison at Europenthe.
What?
I think that's the prison, Europenthe. Klingon prison.
Let's make sure I'm...
The Vulcan language is a fictional language used by Vulcan's race in Star Trek universe.
Oh, it's not as well developed
As the Klingon language, but there's resources available for learning it. While Star Trek fans have created their own Vulcan language over the years, the official Vulcan language has been featured in various Star Trek films and television series.
Look at the writing, though.
Yes, the prison at Europenthe. You will be sentenced there.
The language is
to die.
The writing is insane. It looks like Arabic almost, right?
It does.
Except it goes down, like Hindu.
It looks like the Matrix. But show them.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
These are old.
that's dope.
So cool.
The fact that they I mean, to go that hard is like the next level.
That's way beyond us. Those people should be on the show right now talking.
But didn't they do that with Star Wars?
I don't know. Let's see.
Did Star Wars create their own language? I don't really know.
Star Wars episode New Hope languages. What languages from Star Wars called Galactic Basic? What language do humans in Star Wars speak? No, they don't do that. Sorry, they're not that nerdy. All right.
So another show that we had discussed this way early when we were at the Basement podcast. We had discussed the fact that there was such a gap between the Star Trek lore, and there was no shows coming out, and you had come across a series that was trying to create their own show, but they needed permission.
I forgot about that.
So
they released actually pieces
of it. What was it called?
I forgot what it was called.
Wasn't it Star Trek Andromeda? No,
I don't know. We're not allowed to leave the universe. That's one of the rules.
We're not.
There's a galactic bubble or something they call that.
So, yeah, I think it was something with an A though. Anyways, so I was looking up on this app. And I was saying to myself, what has there been since? And there was actually a show called Star Trek Aurora.
Oh.
And it was this like it's really bad.
I love really bad.
But they managed to get the whole entire
the actors.
They managed to get
They do that. You know who did it?
Who?
Tuvok. He did a couple of the fan fiction stuff because he was like he liked Star Trek. He's like, I want to keep it alive. This is before Discovery came out. When there was like a lull, there was like a good 10, 20 years with no Star Trek talk.
So this show was an animated film series.
Oh, right.
And it was basically about this like cargo ship.
That's my grandmother's name, Aurora.
Oh, I have images of it too. Yeah, in the document. It was basically about this. But yeah, you can show that. It was basically about this captain and a Vulcan, and it's just a little mini film. I watched it. And it's a little story within the story that had a social.
It's computerized, whatever.
It's computerized, so it looks like an old school video game.
Oh.
You know, like the story play of the old school video games.
What's the name of this? There was a cartoon show that kind of looked like this.
And it's again a story that has a beginning and a social dilemma behind it. So it
Have you watched it?
I watched the whole thing.
Oh, is it good?
It actually is a good story. It has
I love it.
Really bad acting. The graphics is horrible. One thing that I noticed that it gives me the original series girls with big boobs for no freaking reason, OD.
What is that? A Texas flag?
It looks like it, right? And it looks like a video game. You know the narrative of an old school video game, not the gameplay, but the narrative part. The whole movie, the whole thing plays off like that.
I'm trying to think of a name. There's a cartoon that reminds me of. I think it's Reboot. No. Reboot. You watched the whole thing, so
I watched it, and one of the things I asked AI was, "Is this part of the franchise?" And it says, "Yes, Star Trek Aurora is part of the Star Trek franchise, specifically the Explained Universe. It's the animated movie that follows the exploits of civilian merchants rather than Starfleet officers. Set just after the original series, the series focuses on the adventures of Captain Kara, Carpenter, and a Vulcan first mate, T'Ling, on their small merchant cargo ship, the Aurora. According to the official Aurora Trek website, the Aurora is described as Trek outside the uniform. The Aurora Trek website also notes that the series was created by a lifelong Trekker who was inspired by the civilian characters encountered in the original series.
it kind of reminds me of this.
What game is this?
There's an old cartoon called Reboot. In the beginning of like computer generated stuff.
My gosh.
Oh my god. That's what it kind of reminds me of, the way they drew it. But look, see? Oh god.
What's crazy is that a lot of that style is coming back now, which is weird, right? Because we could do so much better.
I mean, now with AI, bro, me and you can make a freaking Star Trek show. We should
do that.
It would take so long.
So that was my next part of the.
You saw the gorilla one with the guy fighting? He was a designer. He used AI to make the gorilla fighting 100 men.
Yeah, but it was like really choppy. We showed that, right?
It was way better, bro. It was insane. Anyway, just keep going off.
So that's what I asked. You know, I was looking for, you know, what happened to the franchise. So I asked AI, what's ahead in the Star Trek universe, and this is what we have coming up: Star Trek Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, I heard that was coming. Yeah,
that's coming up. Is slated to premiere on Paramount and will focus on the lives and the new class of cadets at the prestigious academy. Additionally, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is coming to return for its third season in the summer of 2025. That's right soon, now.
That's soon.
Coming up. There's more details to follow. And other potential projects, but yet not confirmed, is speculation about a Section 31 series.
I don't know about that. After watching
that movie, if it's not them or anything related to it, great. I'll take whatever you got.
Another thing too is that we got to recognize, with the times, things are going to change. Like before, bad guys weren't like, I don't know. If you watch Deep Space Nine and Voyager, even the Next Generation, their bad guys are kind of, they're not violently, they're not like what you would see on TV, like a guy just taking somebody and shooting him in the head and just, you know what I'm saying? Like they're never gonna walk.
Bad guys that could potentially become allies.
Yeah, exactly.
They're salvageable.
Yeah,
they're not doomed to this evil.
Yeah,
that we can, you know, we're on this side of the fence, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a comeback.
And that's the one gripe I have about Star Trek. It's too optimistic with the world. Like even the way the captains are, like, oh, they look for the best part of humanity.
You didn't like that part?
No, I'm saying that. Yeah, that's the only thing I have against it. Because there's people that don't. Like think about remember that guy that was that he was also a Starfleet ship that got stuck in the Delta Quadrant, but he was kidnapping aliens to like.
The caretaker.
No, not the caretaker. He was a Starfleet ship that they got stuck.
Ship.
Yeah. Remember they were capturing like these weird aliens that they would use them as energy sources.
Oh, you're talking about the Equinox.
The Equinox, yeah. Like that was evil. He's done.
That was evil.
There's no saving this guy.
Yeah,
just kill him.
And he knew it.
Yeah, she should have just shot him in the head and just got it over with. He's done. You know what I mean? Like there's people that are like, you can't save them. They're unsavable. Just kill them right away. There's no negotiating.
Like lore.
Yeah. Like when you went, and the future Janeway did this with the Borg, where past Janeway wouldn't do it. Where she would just be like, I'm going to put a virus and destroy your entire civilization. Past Janeway would be like, no, we're going to talk. We're going to work something out. Future Janeway was like, nah, they're evil. Get rid of them. Kill them. Done.
Really?
Yeah. Remember, that's what she did. She infected herself with a freaking virus to freaking, remember?
Yeah, word.
She was like, nah, we got to I've lived my life. They're assholes.
But that's interesting because she wasn't willing to do that.
in the past.
No,
The future her was like, I'm doing it.
Okay, hold on. Let's talk about that real quick before we end this one. But she went back in the past with this antidote to inject herself to fuck him up.
Yeah.
But if you remember, the how do we explain, the younger Janeway was like, is there any way we could, get home and destroy these people? And she was like that wasn't her plan. Her focus was to get them home. But I also got this thing, just in case it pops off, I might as well make something out of it. I mean, because that's her mindset. Because she's like,
once you go into the future, or once you get to Earth, my future is done as it. I don't exist.
So maybe, but she, right? But it was like a.
But do they? Is there another? We know that there's multiple dimensions, don't we?
We do, but they don't really flex it on that series. But what I'm saying is that when she went with that antidote, that was like oh fuck it.
Yeah.
Like that was like, I'm holding a grenade.
But past Janeway would have never said, "Oh fuck it."
No, right.
Younger Janeway would be like, "No, we're not doing this." Even Picard didn't do it with freaking. Was it Hugh?
You're saying younger Janeway would have been.
She would have been like, "We're negotiating. We're gonna figure something
with
out."
the Borg.
Yeah, like she did a million times before with species 786543221. She's got to figure it out. She's gonna try to negotiate her way out of it. Because this is the Starfleet way.
I always saw it that when future Janeway,
and that's what made Sisko so crazy in that episode, because he was like, I'm going against Starfleet. I'm going against my morals even. This has to be done. Nobody's willing to do it. I'll do it.
I'm out.
I'll freaking, I'll lie about this. It's a fake. You ever seen that meme? It's a fake.
It's so good. That's such a good episode. This is what I'm saying. Like, if you haven't watched Star Trek, give it a shot. Bear with the bad acting. Get to the principle of good storytelling. And I think that another reason why Black Mirror didn't do so well is because they're not coming up with those good stories. Yeah. That's something that we're just lacking.
And again, I feel like we could make a Star Trek show.
We should try
with this current version of computer generated AI, whatever.
That would help us out.
And this is an example of something that somebody made just in the conversation that we're saying, hey, who's going to win, a gorilla or a man? Now, I'm not saying this is perfect, but damn, we can make this is more watchable than what you watched.
Shut up.
And this is what they did, like 100 gorilla versus a man.
This thing is so crazy. That looks insane. First of all,
I mean, you could tell it's fake, right? But still looks great. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of them are like, imagine a Star Trek show with this kind of graphics.
They need to do it. Shout out to Star Trek Lower Decks.
Now we could. I feel like. I mean, I don't know. I'm not that. But with the computer generator, like, all we gotta do is type in a few words, say change this, do this. Like, that's insane.
The gorilla punching. That's hilarious.
Look, he fold that guy in half. He's tackling people.
Nah, that's OD. I'm assuming the gorilla wins.
Yeah. It's funny. Listen to this debate. I'm like, the gorilla would never win. Here we go.
Cheater.
Humanity uses brain power instead of his brawn.
All right, yeah. So that's Star Trek for you. I think what I read about the things that are coming up, I'm not excited about it.
Yeah.
What they're doing with Starfleet Academy,
I haven't read about it. I'm just kind of like, I'll just watch it and see what it's like. I'm hoping they don't add another Tilly in there.
Tilly,
it's so annoying.
When I see her in other shows, I can't get rid of her.
God. And then in Star Trek, she's like cursing. And I have nothing against cursing. They could do it, but it felt like, I'm gonna say a bad word. Here it goes. Instead of it just coming out like natural, like they're just talking.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's
just so.
And it makes the acting so unbelievable.
Yeah, because you're injecting something that's not natural. It's kind of like with the gay thing that they add to shows. Like Star Trek had the gay stuff, and we had no problem talking about it.
So good
because they made it natural. They didn't be like, "And I'm gay. Look at me. Let me walk like this and talk like this."
Even the Orville made it like. It kind of made it funny.
Yeah, the Borders. One of my favorite characters.
Gosh, the fact that they lay eggs is hilarious.
It's one of my favorite characters in the show.
Sitting on a werewolf naked.
Yeah, And again, they're gay. Nobody cares. There's not no objection saying, "Oh, these gay characters."
I want to go to the storyline. What's happening?
I want to be gay too now because of him. I wish I laid eggs.
Let's make a baby.
I'm gonna try. You lay an egg, and I'll.
Wait, I have to sit on it.
Wait, what happens if it's unfertilized? Do they lay eggs anyway? Like chickens do, and you can just eat them.
You just make an omelet.
A ginormous omelet.
Damn, for days you got breakfast, bro.
Remember that episode where they were smoking cigarettes? All right, we can make a whole episode about the Orville. We should though. What a great show, right? You finished watching it?
I got the last episode. Yo,
Let's watch it right now.
I have okay. We watch it.
All right.
Actually, we'll do that.
All right.
I have a bad habit of not finishing a show because I don't want it to end.
Oh wow!
You know how long it took me to finish the last episode of The Office? I got tissues. I got wine.
Like a jerk off it.
I cry like a bitch.
Tune in to Star Trek and tune in to GEDSQUARED.
Oh my gosh, bro. You cry like a bitch. I text my family afterwards. I was like, I watched it. Everybody was like,
I watched it last year.
Bro, this was like